If you watched the first part of this two-part retrospective, then you know the drill. I am looking back at games I missed in 2024, so let's resume where I left off with the Mobius Machine. It's a simple Metroidvania, but it should scratch that itch for those who like shooting aliens. Things get heated up as you crash land on a foreign planet, with a lot of abandoned research stations, seemingly no one else around, and a lot of aliens crawling and flying about. Shoot 'em up, collect parts for upgrades, look for traversal abilities and keys, and march forward. Again, it doesn't do much for the genre and there's not much story, but there isn't a lot to complain about either, other than it lacks that juice to help make it a pillar of the Metroidvania classics. For some, that shouldn't really be a problem. Ninjak Kamui Shinobi Origins is based on the anime, Ninjak Kamui, about a revenge-driven ninja. It's a cliched trope, but the anime is sick and there are equally fun things about the game. While movement is slow, dashes help speed combat up to make everything look more fluid, and if you're good at stringing combos around, it'll look even better. Our hero, Tsukumo, can slash at enemies with his katana, throw knives that recharge, or pick up guns that use ammo. There are other powers too, so you'll never feel helpless except for enemies that can fly and shoot. They unbalanced the game quickly, and it, kind of annoyed me. The level design is simplistic, as are the enemies. It's a decent anime tie-in game, but nothing about it stands out because the anime that it is based on is just, simply better. Alright, I've been down so far, but Peglin will boost up my spirits! It's one of those games that will get you right away, that you'll be addicted to from the start. It's a roguelike mixed with Peggle. You begin with a little goblin and go through a series of Peggle-based puzzles. Based on where your ball lands, it will build up points for damage, accrue gold, or have various other effects. Once all enemies are defeated, you move on to the next stage, and you can choose where you move on this little map. It's really that simple, but I could not turn myself away from it. I played it on the Switch, which is the perfect platform for on-the-go sessions. It runs well, and it looks well on, a dying platform. Nintendo, where's that Switch 2? But I digress. Really, Peglin is amazing. You should go buy it now. Promenade is a cute little platformer starring a young boy who was rescued by a little squid. This squid serves as the main mechanic of the game. You can toss him out at enemies and grab them, which you can then use to boost yourself up, or you can throw that monster back at other enemies. It's a gameplay mechanic reminiscent of the Klonoa series, so it's nice to see an indie game pay homage to that franchise. The point is to collect gears, which can then raise a platform in the hub world to access new levels. It's a standard gameplay loop of discovering new areas via collecting things, which is not a bad thing, but it didn't wow me either with any sort of original genre-bending concept. Ravenwatch is a roguelike similar to a game like Vampire Survivors. You begin with 4 characters to choose from, and each one progresses through levels to unlock new starting bonuses. All of them are based on fairy tales, like Scarlet being a combination of Little Red Riding Hood and the Big Bad Wolf. Each character can attack enemies and spam them with specials that are on cooldowns. It supports co-op, which is the way to get anywhere in the game. Each map is small, and the point is to survive and accomplish mini-quests while waiting to fight that area's boss. If you die, you will start from scratch. It feels more like an arcade game than a roguelike, which is fine, and the multiplayer definitely makes things more fun. The thing I dug more than anything about this game, though, was the heavy layered outlines of the characters and the world. It kind of reminded me of the Hellboy comics. Sorry, we're closed. Oozes with style. It can be summed up as Persona-based old-school horror game with tank controls and PS1-era graphics. Thankfully, the character models are well detailed with a flare of color to help make them look better than what the PS1 was capable of back in the day. You play Michelle, a young adult who starts having weird dreams and ends up with the power to reveal the truth with her third eye. You'll go around areas, fight enemies, gather precious resources, and solve puzzles. Combat shifts into first person when a gun or melee weapon is readied, and you can see enemy weak points with your third eye. 2024 was full of amazing and unexpected horror games, and Sorry We're Closed definitely should not be missed. Star Wars Battlefront Classic Collection is a 10 out of 10 in my heart. On paper, these two games may be showing their age, even with the HD-ness of it all, but I don't care. This is exactly what I wanted years ago, way before they announced the new Star Wars Battlefront games from EA. To me, these originals are infinitely replayable, from the story campaigns to galactic conquest and all the other modes. Jumping in now felt as natural as it did back in the mid-2000s. The capture the flag-like gameplay is so simple to understand, and the range of classes between factions is just so much fun to explore. Could this collection have included more games and improvement? Yes, 100%, but that didn't diminish my enjoyment. It met my expectations and then some, and that's all that really matters, right? Towers of Aghasba, let's say, is in early access on Steam and console, with this version running on my PS5. While janky in a lot of senses, there's some interesting content so far. You begin your colony being shipwrecked on a beach and are tasked with helping them start anew. You'll go out and do the usual hunting and gathering for materials, do that whole routine to build up the village, weapons, etc. It's a typical slow-paced survival game with two things standing out to me. One, the region you've crash-landed into is a wasteland, but you quickly gain the power to revitalize it via magical seeds. The first time this happens, it's like a scene from Okami. The other cool thing about Towers of Aghasba is the glider. Yes, The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild reinvented the open-world traversal system, but it's still cool to see in games. So yes, Towers of Aghasba is beyond janky control-wise, so it does need some work, a lot of work, all the work, to truly become something amazing, but there is potential. Fingers crossed. Last but not least, Yellow Taxi goes Vroom. It's a platformer that reinvented the wheel, almost literally, as you can control a sentient wind-up toy taxi. It's a platformer, but you will begin with the ability to drive, and eventually a spin can be unlocked that can attack enemies and propel you forward. There are other unlocks too, but progression overall is very much tied to early 3D platformers like Super Mario 64. Collect gears to unlock new zones, which are structured like mini open worlds with tons to collect. There are even sections where you'll behave like a taxi and drop off passengers. The vibes, weirdness, and the PS1 polygonal art style made me love Yellow Taxi Goes Vroom after booting it up. Controls could have been better for a platformer, but it definitely wins the award for creativity even in its flawed state. And that is it! Thank you so much to the developers and publishers helping me catch up on these games. It was a real work of passion, and I enjoyed every second of it. Here's to a new year, and thank you all for watching as always, and again, I hope to do better in 2025. Happy New Year! Thank you. Goodbye.